Buonasera a tutti, grazie.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. The President of the Parliament, Antonio Tajani, will now explain to you what he said to the heads of state and government. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Buonasera a tutti.
Good evening, everybody. In the Council, I restated the position of the European Parliament when it comes to the choice of the future President of the European Commission. As you know, at the basis of all this here, this is about the treaty. They have to indicate the name to the Parliament, the name of the candidate, on the basis of the election results. I restated to Council that as far as the European Parliament is concerned, the principle is the lead candidate principle. This is something which was also restated today at the meeting of the presidents of the groups in Parliament with the President of Council, Donald Tusk. And this is also contained in a document which has been approved by the European Parliament a few months ago. I pointed out to them that in the past, when we were asked what we mean by lead candidate system, and the only precedent we have for that is the election of Jean-Claude Juncker. He was a lead candidate from the group that won the election in 2014 and was immediately recognised as the winner. He was the clear lead candidate that emerged from that. And he was also the lead candidate of the Socialist group under President Martin Schulz got that. So this is the only precedent we have for this procedure. I also told the Council that we will be electing soon the President of the European Parliament. The inaugural session will be on the 2nd, election on the 3rd. And I pointed out that the choice of the President of the Parliament is entirely independent of Council of the Member States. In other words, Parliament will elect its own Parliament, irrespective of what Council decides. If there's an agreement or a lack of an agreement between the Member States, Parliament will proceed. So these were the points that I raised to the Council. And similar to what I said at the last European Council. Thank you. We only have time for 3 questions.
Yes, please.
Buonasera, Ondřej Houska.
Good evening. Czech News. Is it true that the representatives of the EPP said that the election of Franz Timmermans would be unacceptable?
Questo però non attiene.
It's not my role as President of the European Parliament to say that. We've stated that the principle of the lead candidate procedure is that the candidate of the political group that won the elections should be the candidate. So therefore, the lead candidate is, as I said, the one who was announced before the electoral campaign by each group.
Yes, please.
Nicholas Soloras from Bloomberg News. But is there a majority at the Parliament for one of the 2 lead candidates? And if there is no majority for either of them, shouldn't the Parliament accept a candidate from outside the small universe of the 2 candidates? Would, for example, the EPP at the European Parliament be willing to consider another member of the EPP who is not a lead candidate for the role?
Per la posizione del PPE per
Well, the EPP position to elect the winning Spitzenkandidat or lead candidate, well, that would be Manfred Weber. That's their position.
Consoli Ascanius, Presidente, io non capisco.
Mr. President, I don't understand when you're talking about the lead candidates. What we have is there's two groups, two principles clashing here. One is the EPP. That's the party with a relative majority. But that approach doesn't seem to be shared by the Socialists and the Liberals. If the Socialists and the Liberals want a different lead candidate, where do we stand? Is there an agreement on which lead candidate should go? I mean, they would need a majority, but is there a position that a different lead candidate could emerge? In Italy, we've had multiple coalition governments where the Prime Minister didn't necessarily come from the party that got the relative majority, but rather emerged from a coalition forming.
ma non era candidato primo ministro.
It's not a candidate to be Prime Minister. The lead candidate is to be President of the Commission. And we only have one precedent for this, which was the election of President Juncker. Now, other political groups might want to support a candidate that was their lead candidate. Of course, that's a legitimate way to proceed. But that does not respect the principle of the lead candidate system. The lead candidate principle is that you have a person who heads up a list, and that person who could be President of the Parliament. And then the group that gets the majority is the one who should be President of the Commission. Even though this is not legally binding, because the treaty says that the Council chooses, keeping in mind or taking into account the results of the election. Well, it should mean that they take into consideration the group that won. So I think it's perfectly clear there.